I'm here. I'm Chris. No Pat today. Thought I would do something a little bit different, challenge myself a little bit. I have yet to do a baseball show all alone. I do have the other baseball channel that I do a lot of stuff on, but most of it's like pre-recorded. So, you get to like kind of go through your lumps, go through your mistakes, and then kind of figure things out from there. But today, strictly me, strictly baseball, all live, one take, a little bit more of a challenge while Pat is at the Big Ten tournament. I do have a pretty well-written show today. At least I like to think so. A lot of stuff that I want to talk about. There's a group of guys that I think are budding stars in this league, or maybe already baby stars and have a chance to kind of make themselves household names. I've been talking with my guy Tyler, who we do a podcast together as well, about some of the issues with MLB. So, without further ado, I guess no intro and no second voice breaking this up. I'll just get right into it. We'll start with the hats. Obviously, like the last 3 or 4 days, Zach and I on the main show have talked a lot about kind of the MLB hats and the overlay hats. And one of the big things is when you have like a letter laid over things, you just got some hats that weren't very appealing. For starters, you had like the ash hose hat, which like the Astros, but they put the big A in the middle of it. There was the Angels hat that became the Anals hat. That was kind of in the middle of it. And then the A's hat, and I don't know how you lay A's over A's without it being just to ass across the front. And the MLB went into, whatever MLB lab they have, designed these and put these out. And honestly, like it kind of has been the problem with baseball over the last, I think, decade and a half, is that there has been this attempt to kind of connect with the younger fan. There's been this attempt to make things cool and fashionable. And when you do that and you try so hard at that and you fail, it just doesn't end up working out. So that's kind of one of the issues that MLB definitely goes through. And I think it's funny because like, what's up, my guy Ben? The hat thing, while it may seem like a funny little thing, it just kind of it has grown into it's a microcosm of what the major issue is. The MLB has a marketing issue, like a major marketing issue, and it's from how you market your stars to how you get designs out there that work. I mean, the fact that this was like a huge kind of MLB promotional thing, and for it to fail that badly, it's like, okay, like we understand what the MLB does poorly. I want to segue that into what else the MLB does poorly, and kind of one of the things that me and my guy Tyler have talked kind of at great length about when it comes to how the MLB marketplace works. Right now, Zach and I are doing a lot of draft coverage, and in covering the NFL and college football, guys are stars, and then we see those stars play early in the NFL. Like for example, when Jeremiah Smith gets drafted, he's the best, you know, receiver we've seen in college football history the last 15, 20 years. I mean, you can go back to Julio if you want. When he goes to the league, when he gets drafted, that team gets excited about them drafting him. And then immediately the following season, they get to see that guy on the field because there is the, 5-year deal. I don't think this is solvable in the MLB, but one of the issues with the MLB world is that you don't quite get the quote unquote young phenom train. In every sport, basically, I think what fans are really enamored by are young stars. Young stars are easier to market. Young stars are cooler. They're so interesting. You hear a lot of the look, this kid is doing this at 18. Like when LeBron came into the league, it was so easy to market him in the NBA because it was like you had heard so much about, LeBron, the basketball player, on one front. And then you get to then hear about LeBron on the other front too. So it's like you heard about LeBron the player, and then immediately like LeBron in the league, he's 18, he's boy wonder, he's chosen, and you get the phenom tag. The MLB is missing so much of that. And I want to kind of Jackson Holiday, for example. Jackson Holiday was the #1 overall pick, and you have to wait essentially 2 years at the very minimum to see that kid play the sport, and so you kind of lose carryover from guys being stars in college baseball. Like here we go. You lose the momentum of guys being stars in college baseball them carrying over to the draft and then seeing it immediately. I think the best thing maybe for the MLB and kind of that puts this picture into better perspective is Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens was boy wonder, an exceptional pitcher, has been tied with Roki Sasaki over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years compared as like who is the best young pitcher. Paul Skeens had an incredible run when college baseball got really hot. And then he got to the Pirates, and the Pirates don't have to worry about manipulation time or anything like that because the Pirates are bad. And so they weren't worried about that. They just wanted to play him because they know that, first of all, he's got that kind of stuff. Second of all, he puts butts in seats. And third of all, you don't know how long you're going to have him for. So if your plan is not to win at any point, why not just play him? The Pirates played Paul Skeens because they weren't worried about service time because they know, look, Paul's going to play. Paul's going to put people in the seats, and he's good enough to go now, so why not just play him? Jackson Jobe was drafted a year before Paul Skeens, and Jackson Jobe is a really talented pitcher, but Detroit's plan was, well, we want to make sure he's absolutely ready to play ball before we put him out there. And what that does is you save service time on him. So, it's just kind of one of those fascinating things that I think if the MLB had more young stars that they could market, things would be better. Like the MLB was really, really good when we got to see Bryce Harper early. Mike Trout, we didn't really get to see early. We had to wait a while. But Juan Soto, there was no, worry about service time manipulation because obviously once a guy plays in the big leagues, you have control of them for 6 years. So you want to make sure they're absolutely ready. With Juan Soto, the Nationals were like, what the hell do we have to lose? And so when you do that, first of all, you get the young phenom thing. Second of all, it's another chance for, more quote unquote favorite players. And we're not watching old players get to trot out there again and again and again. Sorry, not sorry. I'm talking about you, Anthony Rizzo. And we don't have to watch we just don't have to watch vets go out there again and again and again that are tired of played out. So you get kind of the young players. So all that to say that the MLB does have a little bit of a problem, but I do think that it can be solved if teams invest into it. So like if the Guardians, for example, play Bazana right now, which I think he should be ready as the number 1 overall pick. He's going to be 23 years old. You got to think he's got to be ready. Ben, you're right. Steven Strasburg was really quick turnaround. And it worked out. So it's and oftentimes like guys are ready about a year before they get to play because teams want to make sure they're ready. Shout out Emily now in the chat as well. Small group today, just me and my favorite group of friends. Usually Pat does this. I think I might have put it on the wrong Twitter, but you know how it goes. Now in the wild world of MLB baseball, I don't want to focus too much on those young stars that I think should be playing early, but I do want to focus on there's a group of 3 players that have a chance to make what I want to call like a leap into MVP level conversation. And I want to start off with Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, who I think could possibly be the best, if not top 2 center fielders in all of the MLB, is entering year 2. He's not quite a household name to, fans that maybe aren't really invested into West Coast ball. But Jackson Merrill is a superstar, and it's fascinating because right now the Padres are kind of stripping down their roster. The Padres got new ownership here recently, and so what they've been doing is trying to shed some payroll because they feel like the payroll is a little bit too expensive. Now, you can't shed Manny Machado. It's not going to happen. You can't shed a guy like Fernando Tatis, who right now is the face of your team. It's not going to happen. But they made some moves not to sign guys like Kim back, and they've shopped guys like Michael King and Dylan Cease. And so when that happens and you kind of get a bare bones version of a team, a lot of times the guys who have a chance to be a secondary star on a really good team have the opportunity to be a really big time star on a team that's kind of on that budding side. Jackson Merrill is that. Jackson Merrill is really, really talented. Last year he hit 298, so right there on the 300 fringe. He's tall, rangy, really fun to watch. A contact guy, a guy that in the playoffs had some of the big moments, and he's got one of those pretty like lefty golf swings that when you really watch, it really, really gets going. Matt, I do agree with you, dude. I think I love college baseball. I need to watch it more. I watch mostly like a lot of Friday night college baseball. And I enjoy the College World Series. I think there's like not many more electric environments. And this year especially, you've gotten a lot more of the psycho SEC pitchers that I'm definitely a fan of. So honestly, I probably will when Pat is back, and we get a little bit closer to, I guess, the College World Series. We'll work on some more college segments. I mean, I need to get out of just watching Georgia Tech. I feel like I've like with Simpson and with Chandler, like I was so locked into Georgia Tech baseball that I would only watch them. But there are some stars. I mean, shoot, like Paul Skeens at LSU was must watch TV. Um, the kid from Florida that was two ways. Uh, Shoot, Jack is his first name. I can't remember his last name. Caglione, the place for the Royals. He was supposed to be like the American version of Otani. I mean, throwing 97, and also he's been absolutely raking with the Royals. He's another guy that has star potential that I think should play early and is good enough to play early. I mean, shit, I think he's hitting like 500 right now so far this spring. So he's been absolutely outrageous. And as of 2 days ago, his OPS was over 2. So he's been like really dominant. But like the Royals aren't going to play that kid. Like, they're just not going to play him because, again, it's if the NFL was like this, you wouldn't see rookies play. So here you go, Emily. This is for you and for whoever. In baseball, rookies are so different because here we go. In the MLB, when you get drafted, your contract clock doesn't start. Your contract clock doesn't start until you've played a certain amount of games in the major leagues. So guys get drafted and spend time in the minors developing before their contract time starts. So you get a thing where guys are like 25-year-old rookies and they're under control for 5 or 6 years. And then all of a sudden they're not eligible for their next contract till they're 30. In the NFL, once you get drafted, it's 5 years from when you get drafted. And so guys are hitting that second contract by the time they're 25, and then they get to go get paid. In the NBA, same deal. Your contract starts when you get drafted. And then once you play those years, then your contract's up. So guys like Luka, who's about to be 25 and about to see that second contract, he's going to get it. But in the MLB, guys like Austin Wells, who just won Rookie of the Year, is not going to see that second contract until he's 30 years old because he was a 25-year-old rookie. So one of the more, I guess, interesting issues with MLB baseball. Shout out Don in the chat as well. I do want to talk about some guys who I think are under a ton of pressure this spring and kind of early this season to prove that they are that. The first one I want to talk about is obviously Max Fried. Now, Max Fried is 31 years old. Okay, here we go, Emily. I just want to throw this up here. How long after they're drafted until they get to the MLB? What's the goal? I like when guys get up around when they're 22, 23, if they were signed out of the DR when they were 16 or before that. But a lot of times, like the American guys, like they are, you won't see them till they're like 25 till they spend 2 or 3 years in the minor league system. So here's the best way to break it down. Juan Soto is different than a guy like who's a college guy, than a Bazana guy, right? So like Juan Soto was signed as a 16-year-old. And so when he signed as a 16-year-old, there's no draft. And he is in the Nationals developmental program from 16 until he makes it to the majors. So since they have their hands on him that early, a lot of times those guys that are signed that young are more ready for the majors sooner because they're working in I guess, programs to get there. On the other side, college, there's a gap between college and pros. So guys like Bazana will get drafted, and he spent all last year in the minors, and then he'll spend this year also in the minors. And by the time we'll see him, he'll be like 22, 23 years old. I don't know, Dom, the average age across all rookies, but I'll tell you this. The AL Rookie of the Year last year was 26 years old. The runner-up was 24, and the guy that came in third was 25. That's absurd. Now, on the other side, like Paul Skeens obviously won Rookie of the Year, and Paul Skeens is in his 20s, but it's different because, like, guys in the NBA, you win Rookie when you're 18. So it's like you're getting this large gap, and so what happens is, And this honestly, it hurts college baseball because in college baseball, it's fun to be invested in college baseball and it's fun to see the best players in college baseball. But then the best players in college baseball will go to the pros and you might not see them for like 3 or 4 years. It's a great point, Matt. There's a lot of things that absolutely play in an effect when you get called up. Baseball, SEC baseball is considered similar to Double A. I think it's kind of a notch below. So where you get drafted does take a long time. I did not go watch any practices I should have. I was more watching George Workman. That's the kid from the Cubs. And when I was out there, I would just went to games and I had some great seats to games. So the issue with like capitalizing on college baseball is that like Jack, who was a monster of Florida, like was all everything, like a top 5 pick. We're just not going to see him for a while, and there's no chance to carry the momentum. Like the best way to think about it is this: what if a generational prospect, right? You drafted him, and you had to wait 3 years after college to see them in the majors. It kills the momentum of that kid's star power. Because I think like in all sports, people are enamored with the guys that play really, really early. And of all the sports, the MLB has the least amount of those guys. I mean, if you just look at college football, what are people enamored by? People are enamored by superstar freshmen. That means something. I mean, CJ Stroud was such a fun person to root for, and it was awesome watching him play because he was so young. So yeah, so Emily, so that's the big issue with the MLB. It's hard to get excited about the MLB draft because a guy could get drafted and you don't see that person for a while. Like here we go. Chase DeLauder was drafted in 2022, and in that draft class, the number 1 overall pick has made his MLB debut, but doesn't play a ton. And the number 2 overall pick is nowhere to be found. And the number 3 overall pick, we think is going to get it going. I don't know. Ben knows who that is. Kumar Rocker, who I absolutely love, is going to be a star. But like the fact that those kids play in the minors absolutely kill momentum. But a lot of it's because you get incentivized to wait till they're absolutely ready to play. Because if you call them up too early and they don't do well, and I'm the Yankees and I wait a couple years to call somebody up and they win Rookie of the Year, I get an extra draft pick because of it. So it just naturally like kills the momentum a little bit with those players. But I was talking about Jackson Merrill. I think this year so much kind of about the Jacksons when push comes to shove, just because I do thoroughly enjoy Jackson Merrill. So of the guys who I think 3 players who need to take kind of an MLB MVP leap next year, Jackson Merrill is one of them. I mean, obviously, like he was really a big time athlete, did a really good job in center field, a guy that a lot of people thought could play everywhere. And honestly, if it wasn't for how generational Paul Skeens was, probably would have won Rookie of the Year. Now, some of his metrics are really fascinating because like his hard hit rate was really high last year. He was a plus fielder. And when I talk about hard hit rate, I mean like percentage of balls that are hit at like over 90 miles per hour is kind of the hard hit rate percentage. Oh, what up, Wax? It's always good to see you in here, man. I want to pull up Jackson Merrill's hard hit percentage. Mitt, thanks for this one. MLB versus college is a huge difference. Might be the hardest jump in all professional sports. Skill level of MLB players is unreal. Pitchers are that much better where it takes years. I do agree with that. Honestly, it's the hardest league, period. But I do think that guys deserve more bats early, and I think that teams also manipulate service time to stop guys from hitting the market. But back to Jackson Merrill, like whenever you see and I use this site a lot, Baseball Savant, when I'm like talking about players who I think have a shot. Whenever you see red is good. So like Jackson Merrill in year 1 at 21 years old, which you absolutely love. He's young and getting things going early. You very rarely see this. He's red in all 3. His batting run value is a plus. His base running value is a plus. His fielding run value is also a plus. That means that he is very elite in the 90th percentile in the three major categories: batting, base running, and fielding. His sweet spot percentage is up near 39%, which is good enough for the 94th percentile in the league. Again, all this as a rookie. His average exit velo, 90 miles per hour. That's a hard hit. That's a hard hit baseball. As a rookie, 11% barrel percentage. So he's barreling things up. The chase rate and the K rate are there, or the chase rate and the walk rate are there for two reasons. He's a taller hitter, taller slugger, but as a high contact guy, like a lot of times, like rookies take a while to kind of grow and develop into that. And honestly, like I thought that this year Chase Lauder, the Guardians player, had a shot to have a Jackson Merrill level season, which 100% you'll take. Now, in reference, the guy who probably is probably going to be the face of baseball in a couple years, I think. I think I might want to pull up a different Savant page. Bobby Witt Jr., who was second in MVP last year. Let me change screens. Bobby Witt, who was second in MVP race last year, is the same deal, a whole lot of red. Now, this is definitely not common. Kind of just wanting to point out how special Jackson Merrill's season was last year, just in terms of like where he's at in terms of making a leap. So if you're going to bet money, if you're a betting person, I think one of the guys that I'm going to bet on next season to have a productive, I think, year, like a year where it could turn into an MVP caliber year, one of the league's best, center fielders, Jackson Merrill. And again, I think it's good for young players to be stars. Julio Rodriguez. Now, Julio Rodriguez plays for Seattle. Seattle has the best pitching staff in all of baseball. Seattle also chose not to do anything at all this offseason, and it's frustrated a lot of players because they're a team that's probably one or two bats away. Kevin Durant, who we all know, recently got asked who is the Kevin Durant of baseball, and he said it is Julio Rodriguez. You'll hear him referred to as J-Rod. He did see a dip in production last year, but still was in the 2020 club, 20 home runs and 24 stolen bases. His 2025 projections are really positive. They think he could possibly be a 30 home run, 30 stolen base guy. I stand by that. I think he's that good. I mean, he's a guy. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Mariners. He's a guy that I think could absolutely pop this year. And like the same kind of production we got from Jose Ramirez last year on the Guardians, I think he's capable of doing that. And probably athletically a little bit better of a fielder. So, like, again, if you're looking for someone who can give you some MVP love, some MVP consideration, a guy that has to take that next leap, Julio Rodriguez absolutely has to be that. So far this spring, he's hitting 250 with 3 home runs and an OPS of over 900. An OPS of over 900 is check, good. He's on track for a bounce back year. And honestly, the Mariners are going to need him because of how good that pitching staff is. They're going to have to win. The other guy who I think is going to take a significant leap, Jackson Chourio. It's a whole lot of Jacksons. You got Jackson Holiday, Jackson Chourio, and Jackson Merrill. All were rookies. They're kind of hard to keep track, but I'm sure I'll be talking about them a good amount kind of throughout things. He was a rookie last year, another really impressive rookie. His brother is actually in the Guardian system, who I really like, who I think is about a year away from being a major league player, even though I would just give him second base or give him one of the spots now and say go. But last year as a rookie, Jackson Chourio, 21 home runs, 22 stolen bases. After he got up to a slow start and people thought maybe he was getting pulled up a little bit too early, he posted a 306, 362, and 541 so far, I believe, this spring. So he's another guy that's playing some really, really, really good ball. Dog, I'm glad you said this, Wax, because in my show notes, and it is just show notes for me, I want to talk a little bit about Elly De La Cruz, who I think is my official dark horse pick for MVP this year for a couple reasons. Elly De La Cruz has all the tools to be the sexy pick in the NL, all the tools. He's big, he's fast, he's a switch hitter. This this team is going to be better now. And it feels like with Terry Francona there and kind of some more direction with the Reds, I'm fully expecting him to take a more refined approach to hitting in year 3. I think Elly De La Cruz's biggest issue isn't that he struggles making contact, is that he struggles not swinging for the fences. Elly with the Reds so far, I know he struck out 200 times, but I've watched back about 40 or 50 of the strikeouts in the second half, and it felt like he was trying to do a lot of damage. Now, he does have some swing and miss in him, don't get me wrong, but it feels like he was trying to do a ton of damage instead of just putting the ball in play. And somebody who kind of went through this and then made the adjustment, who I really love, was Cody Bellinger. In fact, Cody Bellinger kind of went the drastic route, and now he's with the Yankees, so I'm going to talk about Cody Bellinger a lot. Cody Bellinger went the drastic route, and there was a belief he was trying to hit for too much power, which is 100%. Like, I mean, you can see it when it's there. And he added like a contact swing for when there are 2 strikes. Okay, I still want to put the ball in play because I'm still a good contact hitter. I know that the analytics suggest I need to get the ball out of the yard or slug big, but me putting the ball in play is better than me striking out. Elly needs to go through that as a third-year player. Last year, leading the league in strikeouts, I don't hate that. That happens to guys. I mean, Aaron Judge, in the year he should have won MVP, led the league in strikeouts. And you get that when guys, again, are trying to do too much damage. With Francona there, with some direction there, with the tools being there, and like a switch hitter, there's no reason for him to strike out that many times. And I can absolutely see him cutting down that strikeout rate. I do want to see his chase rate, though, because he's a guy that the defense is going to be there. He's going to steal a ton of bases as the second fastest player in all of baseball. He's got the smile. He's really marketable. Like, watch out, because like year 3 feels like the oh snap, I'm going to break out year. And I want to pull up his Savant numbers. Yeah, it's the bat speed being in that top percentile. Super fast, and with a super fast bat. He's swinging and missing at 33% last year. This year so far in spring, that number is in the low 20s. That is a 10% difference. And I think he's realizing that being 6'5" and 210 pounds, I don't have to tattoo the ball every time to hit it out of the park. And I think guys sometimes go through that. They realize, okay, like as I grow into my grown man strength, because I am 23 years old, I can swing the bat, and as long as I catch a good barrel, that ball could leave the yard. Not everything has to be the hardest hit home run. Obviously, we've seen that with guys like Pete Alonso, Shohei Ohtani, like those guys kind of go through that same thing. What was And I think if he commits also to going opposite field a little bit more, he'll find that he does have all field power, not just pull side power. And it's one of those like unique little things that I think a slight tweak could lead in a severe cutting down of the strikeouts. And it doesn't have to go all the way away. Like I'm okay with Elly De La Cruz like striking out 140 times in a year. It just can't be 200, especially when you're a weapon on base. He's none other one of those guys that is up near the 90th percentile in batting run value, base running run value, and fielding run value. So getting on base has to matter. Now, if he was slow, like on Carlos Stanton, okay, like cool, like swing for the fences every time, like do damage every time you touch the baseball, like explode to the baseball. But you're too good on the bases for you not to be on base a ton. So that's my stance on Elly De La Cruz. I didn't get to really go through what I need from. Oh, don't do that. I don't know if you're trolling me, Wax. But Gerrit Cole's out for the year, man. Gerrit Cole has the Tommy John surgery, and that's why I put Max Fried on the cover, because I think more than any player on the Yankees team, Max Fried is under a ton of pressure. He's going to perform. The pressure on Max Fried is going to be, can you stay healthy and can you be a workhorse? Gerrit Cole was the heartbeat and pulse of this Yankees team. And Max Fried has struggled to stay healthy, but this will be a year, Max Fried's career, where they're going to ask him to throw 170 innings because you are now the bona fide ace. Last year, you were a very, very good pitcher, but Chris Sale was the ace of that team. This year is the Max Fried potential Cy Young year. If you look at his Savant page, which I'm not going to pull up, he is the best in all of baseball at generating ground balls. The Yankees almost built this team like they want him to be the ace because while Gerrit Cole is more of a strikeout guy, kind of transitioning to a weak contact guy, Max Fried has always been the weak contact guy, the lefty with the big looping curve. Some of the low stuff too generate a lot of ground balls. You move on from Gleyber Torres, who was terrible at defense. You add Jazz Chisholm to second base, who should be really, really good. Obviously, like you feel like Paul Goldschmidt's positive out there. I mean, Cody Bellinger's really good in center. Aaron Judge is an upgrade in right field. Dominguez, you do worry about. But Peraza or Cabrera at third base is also positive defensively. So Max Fried has a chance to be efficient, not be a strikeout guy, and be someone who generates a lot of ground balls in short work. And that kind of and that's a plus thing, right? Because like you get out of innings quicker if you're generating ground balls early in contact. So early in pitch counts, I mean. So definitely ton of pressure on him, and then a ton of pressure on Rodon. Rodon is getting paid a boatload of money. Rodon is getting paid $20 million a year, and they paid that to him instead of signing Seager back then, who ended up going to the Rangers and winning a World Series. So he's got to make it work. And he's got to be kind of return to that Giants form, at least half of that Giants form, not the Cubs form, which was absurd, but definitely the Giants form. DeGrom, Cy Young. I heard that DeGrom is up near 97 again, man, going and killing it. I'm a DeGrom guy. I think DeGrom's peak was Pedro, with it was more of a flamethrower, but I don't want to get too caught up in that. I think Ohtani can get 50 plus home runs again. Figure they will votto him and make him walk. Hate that crap. I don't think Ohtani will walk a lot. I don't know if Ohtani will hit 50 home runs again, but I don't know if they can afford to walk him because he's too good of a base runner. And then also, like, you got Murderer's Row behind him. So behind Ohtani, you got like Freeman and Betts. And those guys are both like freaks. Like that many MVPs is crazy. My guy, what's up, dude? This is like me and my 5 closest friends working things out on YouTube. I am going to wrap it up today. I'm sorry, bro, you just got in here and I'm about to wrap it up. Talking a little bit about baseball, but I'll be back next Tuesday. Pat will be back. And if you have not already, go check out the Twitter page. I mean, I kind of get some of my thoughts out there. And then also we do have the RSS feed up. And I guess like I'm supposed to ask like a question, comment below. I guess comment your favorite team and favorite player, either currently or previously. And with 6 you in here, I should have at least 6 comments. I'd greatly appreciate that as I kind of try to prove to Zach that I can make this baseball thing work. We're going to have some more content. Me and Pat are going to be going to some games once the season starts. We might post some vlog content on here or on the other channel. Who knows? But as always, like the video, like Wax said, comment your favorite team, favorite player, and maybe a question for next show. No, Emily, comment after I end it. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday when Pat returns. As always, I'm not going to do the menace out. Go Yankees.